We have all seen the horrifying videos and images, the scenes of death and destruction perpetrated by Hamas terrorists from October 7th, the deadliest single day for the Jewish people since the Holocaust. We all know that a return to the status quo is unacceptable. So I support the Senator's sense of urgency that we must get security aid to Israel as it seeks to defend itself. As a former chair of the Defense Appropriations Subcommittee, it was my privilege and honor to appropriate literally millions of dollars for Iron Dome, the air defense which today protects Israel. I believe in supporting our allies and friends. In fact, I joined a quarter of my colleagues in the Senate in a letter to President Biden just last week with this very same message. But I want to be clear. Many of my colleagues hearken back in history to the days of Munich and say we're stuck in that thinking. I would say forget Munich for a moment. Think of the days of Moscow. Think of this impromptu visit by the Hamas terrorists to Moscow to sit down with Vladimir Putin. Coincidence? Just happened to be part of the travel plan? No. Hamas had already attacked Israel. They were branded as a terrorist group. Where did they go to find solace? Where did they go to find a friend? They went to Moscow, to Vladimir Putin. Why would we get soft on Putin at this moment? What's happening in Israel is a mirror of what is happening in Ukraine. A tyrant, an atrocious conduct, an unprovoked invasion of a country, innocent people killed. That's the story in both places. And yet the Republicans come to the floor today and say to us, we're only concerned about one. We don't care about the NATO alliance and supporting it further. We don't care about supporting Ukraine further. We just want to help one of our allies. I want to be clear. 2,000 miles north of Israel, there is another country fighting for its survival in the face of a brutal assault, also in need of a sustained U.S. security assistance. That country is Ukraine. 2 months ago, I imagine my colleagues all joined me and others meeting in the old Senate chamber on a private, secret, confidential meeting with the President of Ukraine. President Zelensky told us without equivocation that without the continued financial support of the United States and NATO, we will lose this war. He didn't say that once, he said it twice to make it abundantly clear. And now for the Republicans to say, we'll step aside and let the aid to Ukraine, if it's ever going to come much later, is to jeopardize their future and to really make a mockery of the amazing display of courage we've seen in Ukraine resisting the Russian aggression. Just as Secretaries Austin and Blinken argued for emergency aid for Israel before the Senate Appropriations Committee recently, they also stressed the need for aid to Ukraine. Ukrainians have fought bravely, stood up against Russian tyranny, with the United States, the European Union, and countless other countries around the world standing with them. We are the front line of democracy in Ukraine. And to walk away from Ukraine, as the Republicans are suggesting today, is a travesty. To pull back now would be unconscionable, a reflection of America no longer being the world leader it purports to be, and a boon for countries like Russia, China, and Iran, eager to fill the ensuing void. Secretary Blinken said it plainly. In both Israel and Ukraine, democracies are fighting ruthless foes who are out to annihilate them. Secretary Austin went further. Today's battles against aggression and terrorism will define global security for years to come. And for the Republican suggestion today to walk away from assistance to Ukraine, it would unfortunately lead us to that conclusion. Only firm American leadership can ensure that the tyrants, thugs, and terrorists worldwide are not emboldened to commit more aggression and more atrocities. In addition to Israel and Ukraine, we must also remain steadfast in addressing Chinese aggression in the Indo-Pacific, including Taiwan. And let me say a word about humanitarian aid. One cannot look at the scenes coming out of Gaza without realizing there are many thousands of innocent victims, people who are not part of a terrorism of the Hamas leadership, people who are simply trying to survive. The scenes coming from hospitals on a daily basis are a reminder to us that there is a desperate need for humanitarian aid. Al-Shifa Hospital this morning displayed photographs of a dozen infants who have been separated from their ventilators because the electricity is off and there's no water in the hospital. To provide humanitarian aid to the helpless, guiltless victims in this part of the world is consistent with the values of the United States, and I support it without reservation. Humanitarian assistance is not only the right thing to do, it will save lives. It'll help prevent the next conflict. It'll serve as a down payment on our own security in the future. I urge my colleagues to resist this effort by the Republicans to walk away from Ukraine and to ignore the obvious consequences. The people of Ukraine have shown extraordinary courage. I hope a majority of the Senate will as well.